So good evening. You will note that we've created a little ambiance here this evening to change the tone a little bit. I think throughout the day you've listened to some pretty interesting, intellectual, high-level political thinking. So this evening we wanted to really bring back the human in Humanitarian. So that's going to be our tone this evening. And we have with us Alberto Cairo. He was referred to at lunch today as a legend in Afghanistan. Certainly someone that I'm sure many of you have heard about. Alberto has been for 27 years in Afghanistan. He's been working with the ICRC developing a program for disabled people, which it's now reaching 150,000 people, 160,000 disabled people. You will also hear that one of Alberto's, innovations that he brought along is to actually employ disabled people in the center, so disabled people working for disabled people. And really it's about physical rehabilitation, but also social reintegration. So those are the two objectives. So what we'll do is I'll let Alberto start telling some stories from Afghanistan, from his life and from his work. And then we'll have a chance also for some questions from all of you. Thank you. Welcome.
Now, yes, it's working. I am asked many times, you have been in Afghanistan for 27 years, so you managed to work for such a long time, so you must have solutions for everything, including the big question of today is we have to reshape the humanitarianism. Well, if you expect me to answer the question, I can't. I should be Harry Potter. By the way, I'm a big fan of Harry Potter with his wand, but this is not the case. At the same time, we have to say that every day is different. We have always to reshape ourselves, to reshape our way of thinking and working. So I have been listening to this question, should we change, should we reshape, should we find a new solution? Of course we have to. In any case, you like it or not, you have to change. If you don't change, you will be changed. So it's a question of, there's nothing new in that. Now, as I said, I'm not really good in giving answers, but what I propose, I'm going to tell you my story, the story of my program with the ICRC in Afghanistan, and then it will be up to you to draw some conclusion and maybe to get some ideas, or maybe you will not do the same mistake that I have made. I have made so many mistakes, I tell you. And this is more, what I'm going to tell you is more my reshaping, the reshaping of our program. I arrived in Afghanistan in 1990. Don't worry, I will go faster. And, at that time in Afghanistan, a few people knew where Afghanistan was. I remember very well, I was buying books, novel. I adore novels. I was in Milan buying books, and then some books were available, some were not, so had to be ordered. So I gave the address to the lady that was working there, and the address was ICRC Kabul. So she looked at me and said, "Kabul, why?" I said, "Well, I'm working there. And she looked at me and said, oh, I would like to work in Africa. So now, thanks God, things have changed. Many people know where Afghanistan is. But still there is a lot of confusion. Afghanistan has become a very difficult country. But again, it's nothing new. We have to reshape, we have to change, we have to change ourselves, our way of working. So I arrived in Afghanistan in 1990, and my task was very clear. That's what you see in the picture there. It is the Afghanistan, one of the first pictures I took in Afghanistan in 1990. And then it changed quite a lot. And now it's like this. Kabul is a huge city, more than 4 million people, with a lot of remnants of war. It's not really, it's a good place. It's my home now after so many years, but it's quite a troubled country. Anyway, when I arrived, my job was I was told you have to go there to make artificial limbs for war victims. It was very clear, my job, very precise. The people that I was supposed to assist were only war victims. And there was another condition. The situation should have been quiet. I mean, it was not considered a priority assisting disabled people because they are not people at risk of life. There were plenty of other things to do, like assisting displaced people, wounded people in hospital. So very often, as soon as there was some problem, some security problem, some bombing, we had to close. And I was assigned to other activities. So another sentence, another phrase that I heard in the last 27 years is that now we have to change because we are at a turning point. Things will never be the same as before. So every time you have a turning point, what should I turn? What should I do? I mean, it's... So I have seen these kind of things many times. So the question of this Congress, should we reshape? Why not? But it's not new. But it's an extremely important question. We have always to ask ourselves. If you, as I said before, if you don't change, you will be forced to change. And that's what happened to me many times. So at the time, the situation was, when I arrived, the situation was a turning point. The Mujahideen were controlling the countryside. The government, the pro-communist government was still in Kabul, in the main cities, but we knew that something was going to happen. We started our activities. You know, people like me, and maybe some like you have experienced the same things. We are sent to a place, like Afghanistan in this case, and you are told to do this and this and this. So you bring your own experience of the past years, you have been maybe in other places, and you want to achieve a result, and you forget something extremely important, to look around, to speak with the people that you are supposed to assist. I don't want to say that we are colonialist, but in a way, I was a humanitarian colonialist. I was doing what I was told to do. I was a kind of blind implementer with good heart, but was it correct? So we were making artificial limbs at the moment only for war victims. So there were plenty of other people that we could not assist, but that was what I was told to do. And then only if the situation was quiet. So after some time, the Mujahideen took the country, and the civil war started. Security deteriorated because of the security situation. The rehabilitation centers were very often closed, and we were working in another project. And again, I was doing my job as a blind implementer, and until 1994. In 1994, I met a person in a very strange way. I was at the time assigned to distribute food to people displaced. And I was going home, driving, and I was very tired and depressed. You know, when you go to distribute food to people that are fighting for a piece of soap, for a blanket, it's not very nice. So I wanted to go home, to lock the door, and just to forget. And I was approaching my house, and when a rocket landed, not very close to me, but making a big noise, so I saw people in the street disappearing. And only one person was in the middle of the street. It was a man in a wheelchair. And I saw that he was trying to move in some way, but he could not. Well, I was in a Red Cross car, so I could not just ignore him. So I said, I have to do something. I'm not a particularly brave person, but I parked the car in a more or less safe place, and then I went to help him. And I realized that he could not move because he had only one arm. He was without two legs, and one of the wheel was stuck in a hole. So the wheelchairs are supposed to be pushed with two hands. If you push only with one, you go round. And behind him there was a child, his son, trying to push, but he could not. It was so small that the father was covering him. So I helped him, and then I did something like a hero. I said, why are you in the street now? They are bombing. And he told me, I have to work. Okay, which kind of work? I did not ask. And then I told him, listen, why don't you have the legs, the prosthesis? And he said, well, the Red Cross closed. It's not open. Oh, yeah, it's true. It was me. So so again, I said, come tomorrow, we will do something for you. The man left. The name of this person was Mahmoud. The name of his son was Rafi. So they went. And then as soon as they left, I said, what did I do? Now, maybe tomorrow, if he comes, I cannot do anything. Alone, I cannot make prosthesis. I need people, I need machinery, I need maybe I cannot do anything. So I decided the following morning to go very early to inform the guards, the security guards of the rehabilitation center. Listen, if he's someone like a man called Mahmoud, this and this, just tell him that, sorry, there was a mistake. Sorry, give him some money and then that's it. Well, it was very early. It was January. It was cold. Kabul is 2,000 meters, so it was very chilly. Mahmoud was already there. And big surprise, he was not the only one. There were plenty of people, 20 people, like him, waiting. And even bigger surprise, some of the staff, some of the employees were there. What are you doing here? Well, we just came to see if we open. No, we go. We cannot stay here. We are not supposed to do this. It's not a priority. You can imagine to say that to someone like them? But I was still a blind someone blind, unable able to implement only what I was told. So among them there was Najmuddin. Najmuddin is my right arm. And he told me, no, listen, we are here now. Can we do something at least to repair some prosthesis? And no, we can't. The rule is the rule. They insisted, and then, how can I say no? In front of 40 people waiting for me So we started doing something, and also for Mahmoud, we realized that he needed quite a lot of help, because for years he had been walking on his knees, so the knees were swollen. He needed physiotherapy, long preparation, but so I had no choice. So I was blind, and one eye started opening a little, and I was scared in a way because, I'm Italian, but I'm quite strict in. We are supposed. Italian people are supposed to be very temperamental. I am temperamental, but also not to follow very much the rule. I am one of the exceptions, maybe. So I was really trying to follow what I was told to do, and And I was breaking the rules. So I was, every day I was going to do my distribution of food. Najmuddin was staying in the orthopedic center, opening for 3-4 hours, and then the job was going on secretly. And every day I was going back to control and to ask Najmuddin how things were going. And then he was reporting. And he was also reporting of the progress of Mahmoud. He could, little by little, move the knees in a better way. And then we made the prosthesis for him, so he was standing. And something I will never forget. Mahmoud, when he was sitting on a wheelchair, was never looking into my eyes. Never. When he was standing with the prosthesis in the parallel bars, was looking straight into my eyes. Sometimes even smiling. And he was tall, he was not short. But as soon as he was sitting in a wheelchair, it was again, this is something that struck me quite a lot. Time went on, and then we managed to make him walk. And again, I remember the day, it was April, so many months later. And it was the last day, the final day. After, he was supposed to go home and with his prosthesis. And I remember that he was walking, and with him there were other people, and a rocket fell. And then, again, not very close, but everybody ran away. And he was running too, holding his son. And they were running, and I remember the son saying to the father, "Father, you can run faster than me." And the father was very proud. And then I heard him saying that, "Now, you see, you don't need to stay with me anymore, you can go to school." And then we took him home. And again, we never forget, Mahmoud with his son pushing the empty wheelchair. And then my eyes were open. I mean, I was not a blind implementer anymore. There was something. That was a turning point. Dignity. This is the name, dignity. Can dignity wait for better times? No. Whatever ICRC or whatever organization are saying. It was not difficult later on to convince ICRC, and then from that day on, we never closed a single day. That was a turning point. So physical rehabilitation entered the group of priorities. Reshaping, that was reshaping. And later on, at that moment, we were treating only war victims. And I remember there were plenty of people that asking for help, and we were telling them, "No, sorry, you are not a war victim." In Afghanistan, everybody thinks that most of the disabled are disabled because of the war. Well, they are in a way, but most of them are children with poliomyelitis, congenital deformities, cerebral palsy. Now, every year we register and we start the treatment of 10,000 new patients. Only 1,000 of them are war victims. The other one are, yes, war victims in a way, because they could not be vaccinated, because they could not have a prevention, the proper prevention could not take place, but they are not direct war victims. So we were saying no to them. Sorry, you are not. And I remember there was a lady. Her name, I don't know her name, because we don't know usually the name of ladies in Afghanistan. She was the mother of Jawad. Jawad was a child with poliomyelitis, severe poliomyelitis. Both legs, one arm, and the back had been affected, so was really in poor condition. And she was carrying him on the shoulder, going around and trying to look for some treatment. And we were telling her no. And she kept coming and coming and coming. And there was some days, as soon as I saw her from far away, I was running away because she was. And then one day I had Najmuddin and the other staff telling me, "Listen, we cannot go on like this. Every day we have tens of people coming and asking." For them, what is war victims or non-war victims? I mean, what is the difference between someone who cannot walk because he had a car accident and someone who cannot walk because of a landmine? what is the difference? This is exactly what the mother of Jawad was asking me. Can we go on with this vertical intervention, looking only to few people and forgetting the rest? No, we can't. That's a turning point. I said, no, we cannot. I mean, I'm stubborn. And I tried to say, no, we cannot. We will not be able to help everybody. The material will not be enough. We will not have enough space to do this. But we tried. Jawad was the first one. It took a long time to do something for him because he needed surgery, he needed plenty of things. You know, to treat an amputee, landmine victims, is relatively easy. To treat people like Jawad with huge complications due to he had been neglected for years. At the time, he was something like 9 years old, and with deformities, and so it takes a long time. But we tried, and then I said, only one. Just a try. You can imagine with the Afghans. They push me. At the end, we had plenty. But Jawad got his treatment. He was paralyzed. He is paralyzed, but he has a better life. That's a turning point. That's reshaping our work. And again, my eyes opened more and more. And don't think it's finished, because in the same time, we had another challenge. The Taliban arrived. Taliban are nice people. No, it was quite difficult to work with them because it was impossible to discuss with them. They had their own ideas. There were things that could not be done. They were not supposed to be done. That's it. So you have to try to adapt. So that was another turning point, a very tough one. And Mahmoud came back. He came back, and then he was, I would say quite well, a little thinner. And he told me, listen, I had to talk to you. Okay, wait a moment. And he took me in a corner. He sent away his son. Every time I say, I don't want to tell the story of Mahmoud anymore, but I can't. He has been one of the person who reshaped my life. And he said, I have to talk to you. Fine. And despite he was wearing the prosthesis and standing, he was not looking into my eyes. He was sweating, he was embarrassed. And he told me, listen, you have helped me to walk. Thank you very much. Now, you have to help me not to be a beggar anymore. That was the job. I said, what can I do? I was thinking how much money I have in my pocket to give him to him and to send him away. But he read my mind, for sure, because he said, I don't want money. I want a job. Without 2 legs, with prosthesis, but still without 2 legs, only 1 arm, illiterate and unskilled. I said, my God, what can I do for him? Nothing. I don't know. I don't know what to do. So, and I said, okay, I was embarrassed. And I don't know. We will see what to do. He went. And I spoke with the Najmuddin and my team, and I told them, you see, today they asked me something crazy. Mahmoud asked me for a job. So what? They told me. So what? And they said, listen, we have a vacancy in the department where we make feet. We make feet ourselves. And it's a kind of production line. There are some people doing this, cutting the wood, someone gluing it, someone ta-ta-ta-ta. And we always run out of it. So they said, we have a vacancy. I said, what? I mean, he has only one hand. He cannot do that. Well, we will try with some adaptation. We will try. I found it cruel because I said, I'm sure that even if you try, it will fail. It's cruel to give someone a chance, to make him hope when you know that it's going to fail. Oh, no, let's try for... So I put a condition, only for a very short time. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, sorry. After 1 week, Mahmoud was the fastest in the production line. Oh, I was sure that was a trick. I said, I don't believe it. Everybody is helping him, but in reality he cannot. And then I made verification, I checked. It was true. He was never stopping a moment. He was very well organized, very determined, and the other people started complaining, it goes too fast. And I remember what he told me when he asked me for a job. He told me something that, again, I will never forget. I said, help me. I know that I am just a scrap of a man. But if you help me, I can do everything. I did not believe him. It was true. Nobody's a scrap of a man, of course, but I will never forget for the rest of my life. And again, I was blind. Another reshaping. So from that moment on, I understood, and we decided to adopt a policy of positive discrimination. All the staff that we have in our rehabilitation center, they are all former patients. Now we have 720 people. 700 are former patients, disabled. It's a place for disabled, run by disabled. That's something that is essential. Again, reshaping. And Jawad came back with his mother. Again, I was scared. What does she want this time? And she told me, I understood that my son will never walk like other people. It is true, his disability was very severe. But he has a brain. You have to help him to go to school. I discovered that she had been around to all the school of Kabul with Jawad on the shoulders. And the principal of the school, they just told him, listen, we would like to help him, but the school is not accessible. He will never be able to learn anything here. So, I'm sorry, we can't do that. So she came to me and said, you can do something. Well, I'm not a teacher myself, and then this is not really our job. I mean, we make legs, but if you want, you can. When they say, if you want, you come, I mean, but again, Najmuddin told me, why don't we send him, we find a teacher, and we send the teacher at home. So he can have some home classes. And I said, no, listen, this is not really our job. But, with them it's very difficult to discuss. Yes, no, yes. So we send a teacher, and again, I said, 3 months' time. After 3 months, Jawad had jumped from class 1 to class 5. I said, it's a trick. It was not a trick. It was a clever boy. And then, so, reshaping, turning point, and we started, and then, to make the story short, he went on with the classes, and then he managed to finish the secondary school, university. He found later on a scholarship to America, and he got a master's last year. And then, of course, after Jawad, we could not stop. So plenty of other people, and that was under the Taliban regime. That means no schools for girls. So we had to do plenty of things secretly. ICRC doesn't know, but they know now. We had to, again, reshaping, turning points. You have to do that. And then after a while, in 2001, everybody knows what happened. The Twin Towers in America. Kabul, the Afghanistan was bombarded. The Taliban fell. And we went on opening new rehabilitation centers. Now there are 7. Unfortunately, it was a turning point, definitely, but also an illusion. Now security has deteriorated. Afghanistan is not a good shape at all. I remember that in 2008, I was asked by some of the... Oh, sorry, I forgot to move this. I said, everybody changed. Can you find me? It's me. And the other one with the white coat is Najmuddin, my tormentor. Is the person that forces me to do changes. Oh, that's unfortunately a quite common features at that time. This was Kabul during the Civil War. And it's, that place, very dangerous. This Mujahideen was just walking with his son. I mean, it gives an idea of the characters of the Afghans. It seems that they look for risks. That's the place. And then, this is, could be Mahmoud. Is not Mahmoud, but could be. So people that learning to walk. So they have to, don't think that we want them to work for the circus. We just want to prove them that anybody can do anything if you give the right opportunity, and then they have to learn that it is possible, even if you lost both legs, to walk. I can't, but they can. A child with congenital deformities, people that at the beginning we were not considered. Oh, this gentleman is, again, a poliomyelitis victim, and he can walk in this way. Before, he could not. Now, we do physiotherapy in any situation, even at home. This gentleman is a paraplegic, and the tall man, is a physiotherapist helping him to train at home. If they cannot come to us, we go to them. Yeah, this is the same boy before. Sorry, I'm not really good in arranging pictures. Yeah, the same. Oh, no, sorry, no. No. Oh, these are... Sorry. Shame. I should reshape. We produce wheelchairs, we produce plenty of things in Kabul, and we send them everywhere in the country. This is the way the wheelchairs are traveling, on top of a bus, because it's much cheaper. If you rent a lorry, it costs much more. This one it goes very... And then this is the last part. I remember that people asked me one day, I saw them coming to my office, and they are very clever, the Afghans, in understanding my mood. I see them passing in front of my office, and they speak among themselves, and I know they ask, is he in a good mood today? So if I am in a good mood, I am in trouble, because they are coming, asking for. So it's very important to keep a straight face always. Even if I'm the happiest person in the world, I should never smile. But sometimes I smile. So one day I got a group of people telling me, you have done quite a lot of things for us. So go to the point. What do you want to tell me? And say, oh, you are such a good man. Go to the point. And, oh, you have done a lot, but can you do something for our leisure time? Leisure time in Afghanistan? Even me, after so many years, you feel that leisure time is a surplus, is not really necessary. There are so many things still missing in Afghanistan. But of course they insisted, and Najmuddin first. And okay, what can we do? Sport. All right. So we started with football. It was 2008. At that time in Switzerland, there were the European Championship. So we got some money from UEFA to do something in sport. And we started with football, but it was nice. But there were plenty of people sitting in a wheelchair. just looking at this. If to play football, like volleyball, you need a certain mobility. And if you are in a wheelchair, forget it. So they came to me saying that, what about wheelchair basketball? Wheelchair basketball. Where did you get the idea? Oh, they said in YouTube or something like that. And why not? But and then I went through the internet, and I saw that if you want to buy a wheelchair, a sport wheelchair, it is 5,000 euro. I mean, can we afford that? It's a bit difficult to afford something like this. Is tough. So I said, I'm sorry, it's very difficult. And then you need a court. So a court smooth, because otherwise the wheelchairs cannot spin, and you need a trainer. So I said, sorry, we can't. Finished. So no turning point, no reshaping. I think that destiny was against me. Because suddenly 3 things happened. From Geneva, they said, there is money for sport. Okay, so we started renovating some court. Yeah, but what about the wheelchair? They are too expensive. Suddenly, a British charity called Motivation, they started manufacturing sport wheelchairs, $300 each. So I had no choice. But still the trainer. I played basketball ages ago, but it's different. Standing basketball or wheelchair basketball are completely different. So what to do? One day I was in my office and someone knocked at the door. An American in a wheelchair, tall. And I said, what do you... Well, I am a wheelchair basketball trainer. Do you need any training? So, and then I said, but listen, maybe there are no people who want to play basketball. So we announced it. The first day we had 170 applications. And 50 of them were girls. Big scandal. I said, no, you can't. So how could I resist? That was a turning point again. So we started, and then what happens now? We have this, the girls are playing. This gentleman is one of the first one who came to ask for his name is Farouk, came to ask for sport. He was not skinny, but he was not like this. Now, you should see him during the winter with a T-shirt 3 sizes smaller, practically naked, because he wants to show the muscles. If you go too close to him and he thinks that you are touching him and say that, again, turning point. That's fantastic. These people were ashamed of their body. Now they are proud. They don't have the legs. Who cares? But they can do everything. This is during a competition in Japan in 2015 against China. China, you can imagine, not against... So they travel, they go around, and I realized that sport is the perfect combination between physical rehabilitation, social reintegration, self-esteem, self-confidence, whatever, and fun. I'm convinced that practicing sport is a human right. Turning point, write it down. It's really something. It's unbelievable. Now I have to tell you, usually my presentation ends here, but today, unfortunately not. Now I have to say something very sad that recently happened. This year, in 2017, we had several security incidents in Afghanistan. In January, one person was kidnapped, then released. And then during a distribution of items in the north of Afghanistan, 6 of our colleagues were killed. 2 were kidnapped. For 7 months, they were released, but they went through a very tough time. And then the 11th of September 2017, the worst possible things. A patient, 21 years old, for 19 years he had been our patient, since the age of 2, polio. So he came to us at least 2-3 times per year for treatment. And he entered the orthopedic center like every day in a wheelchair. He waited for an expatriate, and there was only one. Her name is Lorena, a physiotherapist from Spain, very nice person, and they killed her. He just shot. One shot, and then she was killed. Inside an orthopedic center, we never had a single incident in 30 years, nothing. And then this done by a patient, someone that knew us very well. And then against Lorena. I mean, nobody should be killed, of course, but not Lorena. She was the sweetest person in the world. She did not know the person. She was working mainly with children with cerebral palsy. So that's a tragedy, a huge tragedy. And then there is a moment that if a person that for 19 years has been under treatment with you does something like this, you cannot trust anybody anymore. So you have to reshape, you have to change, you have to do something. But what? To close the door? To make the rehabilitation centers and the hospital bunkers where nobody can enter? We need the contact with the people. So that's a terrible things, and then we are still all the ICRC, we are in shock, and then but again we have to go on. So after some days we reopened the orthopedic center. We are working, and in the coming days, tomorrow I'm going back to Afghanistan, and then the 19th we are leaving with the team, with the wheelchair basketball team to China for other competition. So of course it will not be the same, but we have to go on. For the madness of one person, we cannot punish hundreds of thousands of people. But reshaping, there are problems always, every day. I hope that not this kind of problem will not happen anymore. But, so it's we have to reshape. But again, you see, I'm not able to tell you strategies. It's not my job to do that. But I know something. Listen to the people. Reshape yourself according to the needs of the people that you assist. Talk to them. I was blind. They opened my eyes. Put always the people at the center of everything. Where there is a man, the humanitarian work must be. That's all, nothing else. We need strategies. Of course we need strategies. You cannot just start like this, but the strategy should not suffocate you. Sorry. Let me say something. This is the Crazy American, Jess. And these are the two ladies are the team of Mazar, the place where unfortunately the killing happened. And the women national team of Afghanistan went in July to Bali for a competition, international competition. They won. I mean, the men are very jealous. They say, they won, it's not possible. But they won. They won, and then they beat India, Thailand, and Indonesia. And they came back like celebrities. Now that's good. That's the way it should be. And look at this. Now we have a gymnasium where they can play. So that's a turning point, reshaping.
Wow. Well, very emotional. For me, that was a wonderful reminder and evocation of the human part of being a humanitarian, and also how the people that you work with will shape you, will change you. So thank you for that, Alberto. I think we can just start with some questions from the audience. There will be. Okay, let's start over here.
Yeah, thanks, Alberto. A very, very touching story. We just learned the last few days that... my name is Tancred, myself. We just had to learn the last few days that ICRC is scaling back quite significantly now the program in Afghanistan because of the things that happened and you mentioned. How is that for you?
Let's take another question over here.
Yeah. Hi. We know from work in medical care, humanitarian care, that you have to help yourself and care for yourself in order for you to be able to help others, and that also applies for the psychological and mental health. So after 27 years living in a country that you described it as troubled, and experiencing all the ups and downs in your life, what was your strategy, and what is your strategy still to coping and combating the mental and psychological pressure that surely weighs on oneself after experiencing all the things that you've experienced in your field?
Okay, thank you. Should we start with those?
Does it work? Yeah. It's a bit sad. It's quite sad. Three incidents like that in a row in the same area. Well, ICRC is asking itself if it is something that is going to happen again, if it is a trend, or so. It's for the moment the activities in the north have been reduced. Our rehabilitation center will reopen in a few days, but the idea is to look for a possible organization able to take over for the future. But it's not tomorrow. It will be, if a handover is going to take place, it's going to be a responsible handover. So it means that something that could guarantee quality and quantity of services and the staff to keep the job, and then so. But it is a moment that ICRC decided that for me it's particularly painful, I would say. But I hope that is going to be something temporary, because it will not be closed completely. Some offices have been closed, but in Mazar, the main city, an office will remain with the reduced staff. And I hope that in the future maybe we can resume again. But it's true, unfortunately, there is a reduction. Yeah.
Okay, the question was about self-care. How did you feel after
So, to understand if I'm mad or not. No. Well, it's a very good question, because sometimes I realize, for instance now, I have to be honest, after what happened, the killing of Lorena, and now the news that we are scaling down our activities, I have to be honest, I don't sleep more than 3 hours per night, which is mad, which is crazy. You cannot go on like this. So, yes, I know that I have to take care of myself. I know that there are limits You have to recognize your limits. So after 27 years, I found a kind of balance. But my colleagues, junior colleagues, people that have just come to Afghanistan, for them can be very tough. So you have to leave the country every some time, to find ways. You have to find your own balance. We are not children, but for me the key point is you must know your limits. If you know that, and then it means that you take care of yourself. So we try, all of us, to keep ourselves fit, also physically, and then to leave. If you see that you cannot stay because you start having problems, you have to leave. You have to go 1 week away. You have to go home. You have to go to do what you want. But definitely, I agree with you. If you are not well with yourself, first of all, and if you are not in good mental and physical shape, you cannot do this job. So we have to. I don't have a receipt to say you have to do this and this and this, but definitely is something that all of you, I recommend it to all of you. I'm a veteran now, so those working in the field, they really have to take care of themselves. It is not to be, sometimes you feel that, you are selfish, you just think of yourself. No. Of course, if you want to go on holidays every week, no, that's maybe a problem, but if you have to take care of yourself. If you want to work, if you want to be able to help other people, you have to.
Thanks. Any other questions? Well, actually, I had a question, and then we'll come to you. Up there. So my question was really actually about your family. When you went off to Afghanistan, were they nervous? Were they scared? How did they react?
But the reaction of my family came before. Before being a physiotherapist, I was a lawyer. So a completely different field. And my father was very proud of me. And when I decided to change and to go back to school, he was not pleased at all. So for many years, when people were asking him, what is Alberto doing? I don't know. He was... When I went to Afghanistan, it was not clear to him what I was going to do in Afghanistan. Maybe a lawyer in Afghanistan. I don't know. So they did not say much about Afghanistan, but my father objected quite a lot when I decided to quit the law and to go into physical therapy. My mother, no. Women are more intelligent than men. So she told me very clearly, do what you like. Do what makes you happy. My father, no. Was the career, was the prestige, but then both of them, they understood, and in the end, I think they were both of them worried, because Afghanistan is not a nice, peaceful place, but they were quite happy that I was happy there.
Yes.
Thanks for giving us some insight into your experiences and your feelings over the last decades that you've been working with the ICRC in Afghanistan. Sorry, Stephen Ryan, NOHA student and formerly with the IFRC. I'm just curious, this morning we had some small bit of discussion about whether or not there is a loss of the human feeling from the humanitarian sector as it becomes more professionalised. And I don't think that any humanitarian or any person could sit in this room, listen to what you just told, and not have feeling. But can you give some insight in how you think the humanitarian sector can keep this feeling of heart that clearly you've shared with us today?
Well, it's there is always a component in our work. We must be administrators, managers. Again, as I said before, you must be organized. Don't think that in Afghanistan I'm quite tough. There are moments that they push me to do what they want, but in other things I push them to do what I want, in the sense that there are rules, there are things that have to be followed. So, but again, you have yourself to understand where is the limit. There are moments that I have seen colleagues of mine in ICRC, and sometimes they forget. They want the rule to prevail on the needs. No, you cannot do that because the rule says, sorry, change the rule. So there are many things. You have to challenge your organizations. Maybe you will not have a brilliant career, but that's it. No, I'm sorry. I understand your point. It's true that sometimes we become cold and we follow the rules and we put the rules before the... You have to compromise in some way, but at the end, at the center of everything, there is the person. I cannot sleep at night if I have known that because of a bureaucratic rule, I could not do what had to be done for a person. So I don't have, a straight answer for that, but you have to look inside yourself. You have to question yourself every day. Did I do well or not? I was too tough? I really was ethical what I have done or not? This is something that you have to ask yourself. And I know that even the ICRC, in many cases, I see that the bureaucracy is getting very strong. And bureaucracy, in a way, is needed. You cannot just do, it's a kind of anarchy. You cannot do that. But the human person comes first. Now, it's up to you, in yourself, to find the balance.
Yeah, any other questions? Okay, well, I'm going to ask one, which was, so you chose to really focus on one place, one country for 27 years. Many people who are humanitarians think of working in different countries and having let's say, a wider experience, maybe not so deep. So did you ever miss the fact that you weren't, you hadn't gone to, I don't know, Democratic Republic of Congo or some other humanitarian context, that you were just in Afghanistan?
Yes and no. I have never regretted to be in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is never enough. Now, I have been for 27 years. I have one regret, that most probably I will not be able to stay 27 more years. Because of, I don't think I will survive much longer. So that's the only regret I have. No, I'm very happy to have been there. I have the opportunity to go deep into Afghanistan, to understand Afghanistan. Afghanistan is very difficult to be understood. It's a very complicated, very complex reality. I regret also, but I regret also to at the same time not to have acquired experience in other contexts. Maybe I should have moved out sometime to go to other places, to learn from other places, maybe to come back with a stronger experience. But when you are an Afghanistan addict, it becomes very difficult. So it was the fear, in a way, to lose even a single day of Afghanistan was stronger than the desire to go to another place. So that's, but definitely to see more places, to see different contexts, to compare them, that can be very useful, definitely.
Thank you. Over there.
Thank you very much. It was very, very impressive. More on a personal note, did you learn a language, and how much of an Afghan did you become over the last 27 years?
I speak Dari, not very well. Sometimes I make big mistakes and then everybody laughs, but it doesn't matter. I can speak with the patient. If someone, when I watch television or there is someone making an official speech, I have problems because they use a completely different language. And the second part of the question? Oh, no. I adore Afghanistan, but I'm not an Afghan, and I will never be. There are big differences. I adore Afghanistan. I adore the Afghans. Sometimes I would strangle them, but there are things. But no, I'm not an Afghan. I will never be. But even the Afghans, they don't want me to be an Afghan. They want to be what I am, and that's it. I mean, I have my opinions, my ideas. For instance, I always discuss with them, and I really tell them that they should be ashamed the way they treat women. I tell them very openly, and they say, but that's it. Sorry. No, we protect them. It's not true. You are not protecting them. You are doing what you want. And so there are plenty. For instance, I become crazy when we train people. We need a lot of physical therapists, men and women, a lot of orthopedic technicians, men and women, because these are the jobs that we need more. And systematically, as soon as this lady trained get married, the husband doesn't want them to work anymore. How can you do something like this? And she would like to work, because she feels, I mean, working, it's, if you want to work, why not? You should be free. So these kind of things, and there is nothing to do. They cannot choose. How is it possible? You are educated, she's educated. Why you don't allow her to do this? Well, but you know the tradition. I don't care of the tradition. You have to think with your brain. So this is something that traditions are so strong in Afghanistan that it's difficult to find. But this is, again, it is something that you for instance, just a short story. Some years ago, one of the administrators of the orthopedic center, a man that I know him very well, he came to me saying that I have to go home because I have a family problem. So usually it's a person that never asks for any leave. It's quite precise. So I told him, okay, you can go. And I asked him, what's the problem? I have to take a person of my family to the hospital. And I asked, stupid me, who is the person? And he said, my grandmother. And why I did not stop there? No, I asked the question, I don't know why, I asked, what is the name of your grandmother? His face became like a stone. He told me, I will never tell anybody the name of a woman of my family. Already. So I joked and I said, listen, I don't want to date your grandmother, don't worry. So he told me, you have been, at the time it was 22 years maybe, you have been in Afghanistan for 22 years. You should know that there are questions that cannot be asked. He slapped me in the face, practically. So I told him, get out, go immediately, go. And for 3 months, I did not talk to him. I was really offended. And then I realized that he was a victim, a person that is not even able to tell the name of his grandmother. It is someone that is practically suffocated by the traditions. Honor. What honor? So when I see these kind of things, I get mad at the Afghans. I don't feel Afghan. I feel very close to the Afghans. And they don't want me to be an Afghan. They want me to be what I am, I think.
I think we're almost out of time, so why don't we close it here? We have drinks in the foyer, and for the speakers, there's a bus leaving in an hour, so at 7:30, 2 buses will be outside the building. That's for the speakers. But I just want to conclude by saying thank you so much, Alberto. I think you really helped us to refocus on the human part of humanitarian, and thank you very much.
Okay.